Parallel. 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 Let's talk about the word parallel. The part of speech is an adjective, by the way. So, in common usage, when we say something is parallel to another thing, we mean that they are similar in some way, but also distinct. For example, two roads might be parallel because they run alongside each other. Or a concept in science might be parallel to one in mathematics, showing similarities and relationships between the two fields. Now, here's an important note. Parallel is often confused with perpendicular, which means at a 90-degree angle to something. But parallel specifically implies similarity and proximity, rather than separation or difference. In a formal setting, you might say the researchers conducted their experiment in parallel to a control group to ensure accurate results. Here, the word parallel is used to describe an action happening simultaneously with another, highlighting the importance of comparison and accuracy. Moving on. In casual conversation, someone might say, "I've been trying to learn Spanish and Italian at the same time. It's like learning two languages in parallel." In this case, the phrase "in parallel" is used informally to describe a similar situation or process happening simultaneously, making the language learning experience feel more manageable. Finally, in a business or academic setting, you might use "the company is developing new software and hardware components in parallel to meet the growing demand for high-performance computing." Here, the word parallel emphasizes the simultaneous development of multiple elements to achieve a common goal, showcasing efficient planning and execution. So you want to learn about this concept that helps us compare two things that are similar but not exactly the same? Well, imagine you have two lines on a piece of paper. One line is straight and the other is slightly curved, even though they're different shapes. If you were to draw another line alongside them that's also straight, it would stay at the same distance from both original lines as they change shape. That's basically what we mean when we talk about two things being in the same direction or moving together in a similar way. Mainly, this concept is used to describe something that happens or exists simultaneously with another thing, like two events happening at the same time or two people doing the same task. Other ways to think of it might be side by side, along with, or in sync. All these ideas are similar because they help us understand how things can be connected and move together, even if they're not identical. Parameter. 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 So, you want to know about the word parameter? Well, let's start with the basics. Part of speech. A parameter is actually a noun. It refers to a factor that limits or defines the possibilities of something, like the parameters of a contest where you need to be within certain age and skill range to participate. In common usage, people use parameter when talking about specific conditions, boundaries, or criteria that apply to a particular situation. For example, the doctor set out the parameters for my treatment plan, saying I needed to take these medicines twice a day. What's interesting is that some languages, like Spanish and French, use similar words, parametro and parameter respectively, with almost the same meaning as English. Here are 3 practical example sentences using the word parameter with their respective contexts. In a formal scientific context, the professor mentioned that the temperature range is a critical parameter in determining the stability of the chemical reaction. This sentence uses parameter to refer to a specific value or range that affects the outcome of an experiment. While chatting with friends at a coffee shop, someone said, "I think I've optimized the video game settings now. I've changed the graphics parameter to high and the sound parameter to low so it runs smoothly on my old laptop." Here, parameter is used informally to refer to specific settings or values that control the performance of a software program. In a business meeting, the project manager stated, "We need to adjust our marketing budget parameter to reflect the recent changes in market demand and competitor pricing. Let's schedule another review for next quarter." In this example, parameter is used in an official or professional setting to refer to a specific financial value or a range that defines the scope of a business plan or strategy. So you're trying to figure out what a parameter is? Don't worry, it's actually pretty straightforward. A parameter is basically a special value that defines or limits something, like how many items you can buy with a certain amount of money. Think of it as a rule or guideline that helps determine the outcome or result of a process or situation. For example, in a recipe, the ingredients and the quantities are parameters that affect the final product's taste and texture. Similarly, when you're playing a game, the number of lives or health points is a parameter that determines how long you can keep going. The main thing to remember is that parameters help set the stage for something else to happen. They provide a framework or a boundary within which things can unfold. Phase. 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 Let's take a closer look at the word phase. The part of speech is noun, so you'll see it in singular form when referring to a specific stage or period of something. Like, "This phase of my life was really challenging." Common usage includes using it to describe a particular stage in a process, such as, "The construction phase of this project took longer than expected." Or even in scientific contexts like, "The experiment is now in its testing phase." One special note about the usage of phase is that it can also be used as an adjective to describe something related to or characteristic of a particular stage or period. For example, "This phase-specific equipment is only needed during the final stages of production." Let's take a look at 3 different examples of how to use the word phase in various contexts. In a formal setting, you might say something like, "The new environmental regulations are expected to phase out the old manufacturing processes over the next 5 years." This sentence is used in an academic or business context, where precise language and a professional tone are necessary. In a casual conversation with friends, you might say, "I'm trying to phase out my old video games and sell them online." Here, the word phase is used to mean a gradual process of replacing or getting rid of something, often in favor of something new. This usage is informal and conversational, where language is more relaxed and colloquial. In business or academic settings, you might say, "The company has entered a new phase of rapid growth, expanding its operations into new markets." In this example, the word phase is used to describe a specific period of time or stage in the development or progress of something. This usage is formal and technical, where precision and clarity are crucial for effective communication. So you're trying to figure out what phase means? Well, let me break it down for you. A phase is essentially a distinct stage or period of something's development, growth, or activity. It's like a chapter in a book. Each one builds on the previous one and helps shape the story as a whole. In many contexts, a phase is marked by significant changes or developments that set it apart from others. Think of it like a step in a process, where you're moving forward and making progress towards a specific goal. Some people also use words like stage, era, or cycle to describe similar ideas. They all convey the idea of something evolving over time.